Hey everybody. Good to see you guys who joined us online. Much thanks for everyone who's here in person. So good to see everybody again and see new faces too. I want to say thank you to Lily for sharing, what you shared earlier. And it's always beautiful to hear, I started my journey with these teachings, the Earth Star teachings, the Star Knowledge Way, in 2009. So I love hearing about the roots of it, the roots of this tree, and how people came together to bring through these messages through their own personal path and their heart, and working together. And it's really beautiful to learn um, how these teachings are spiritual and universal. We went through some teachings last night as well, talking about the songs and the altar that this comes from, and that they are universal and spiritual teachings born through the indigenous tradition of the Lakota and Dakota peoples, specifically through Uncle Loren, Chief Golden Light Eagle. So it's really beautiful to see how these indigenous ways and the universal teachings work together, and if about this way of the Chanupa, that this came from the stars, and that the teachings of these sacred ceremonies in which these translations came through were from White Buffalo Calf Woman, who was from the Pleiades. And so at this time, we're in the solstice, and this is when we're in alignment with the Pleiades. And if you look out tonight, maybe around 11 o'clock at night, you can look straight up pretty much in the sky and see the Pleiadian constellation. It's visible in the center of the sky. In the evenings right now. We saw it last night. It was really beautiful. No clouds or anything. We could see it. And so at this time, we're working always with these alignments. And this one's called the solstice. Right? So if you know about the seasons, we have 2 solstices and 2 equinoxes. So what we're going to talk about today is a little bit around the calendar way. And as Grandma Lily had shared, these symbols came through, and as they were worked with, there were messages from nature. There were messages from the sun and the moon, and the different alignments that would happen. All of us are a part of nature, and in many languages indigenous to this place, Turtle Island, aka the United States, there was no word for nature in these indigenous languages because that separates us from nature. We are a part of it. We are nature. And so in paying attention to what's going on in the cycles, we pay attention to what's happening with the sun. So the solstice, the roots of that word, SOL, that means sun, right? Our soul star, our solar alignment here. Stis is position, the position of the sun. So when we have the winter solstice, we have the shortest days and the longest nights. And now that we're here in the solstice, we're going to be moving towards longer and longer days. So yesterday and today are the longest nights. And from this point forward, we're moving into greater light. So when we have this time of the year, a lot of people have challenges with seasonal affective disorder. They stay inside. The holidays can be hard for people. Yeah. There can be challenges emotionally in this season, and that's because the winter season is the season of healing, right? So we have that season of healing all winter long. And if you are working with the 1111 symbols and the 1111 books, you'll find that in the back of the book, in certain editions, you can find the star altar of Creator. And so the star altar of Creator marks the positions and the symbols that we can work with to connect with the seasons, right? And so these are the cycles that we all move through, whether we're conscious of it or not. because we are nature. We have our light. We're borrowing the light, the photons in our body from the sun and the stars. We're sharing light. We're sharing air. We're sharing water and earth with all life. And so paying attention to how we're all connected in the cycles we move through is where this comes from. Is where this calendar comes from. We have a moon of the firefly here in our calendar because at that time of the year it's when the fireflies come out. It's really grounded, and I love how the calendar is grounded out in that way. You can get real starry and you can get real grounded with it, and you can work with the bridge with the ascended masters as well, these 3 levels. So anyways, the solstice that we have today, we have the position of the sun to where we have the longest night and we have the shortest day. And so this can be a time where our deepest and most difficult shadows can come directly to face us, to be transmuted, right? So don't be surprised. And people associate it sometimes with the holidays, like, well, there's people gather with family and that can be stressful, but don't blame it on your family. This is the season for healing. This is this position we come to face the deepest shadows and remember that light. And we can remember that medicine of the fire. The fire is light. Also, there's fires in us. And when we take care of our inner fires, we have an easier time through this season. Staying warm. Upper in the northern hemisphere, we have a lot colder times right now. So we tend to the fires in our home. That's also tending to the fires in our body and our consciousness. Paying attention to the fires in our mind and our heart. The light, the energy that moves our consciousness is steered by our focus. And so we have some points that we can focus on. And at this time, we're in the last quarter of the buffalo moon. And you'll read these teachings in the 1111 book if you work with that as well. And this moon is the first moon of the calendar year in the Earth Star teachings. And so this first moon is the stargate of purity. And we're in the last quarter of that. And this is the spiritual protection of family, right? So we're working with family dynamics. How are we related? How can we work together? Humanity as a collective is facing many, many things that we're going to only get through if we learn to work together, right? And so it's really palpable at this time. We treat our environments like we're different than it. We're different from each other, and we separate rather than collaborating. And that's where we're having imbalances, right? And that's what these teachings share with us about. So today is the 21st, and sometimes the solstice falls on the 20th or the 22nd, but this year it falls on the 21st. And this governs, our year. The calendar that we work with is not based on, the months of April, and somehow we have the 10th month of October, but Oct means 8. I don't know who did that. It wasn't me. The way that we work with the calendar is it starts at the solstice of winter, just like with us. We're born from the void. We're born from the womb, right? All life comes from that space. And so this darkest day, the longest night, right? It's when our year is reborn. That's why we have our ceremony of rebirth at this time. And we have our alignment with the Pleiades. It's a really beautiful star system to work with. Many who are attracted to this knowledge already have worked with Pleiadians or are Pleiadians, or you visited there a couple times, a few lifetimes, right? And the Pleiadians are master manifestors. So at this time, we can manifest our year, with these symbols and with this intention. If you don't work with the symbols anyway, they're in you. The codes are in all of us and in nature and in the sun, in the cosmos, and working with the moon as well. So through this ceremony of rebirth, this is a 12-12 alignment. And specifically, we're working with Cardinal, the bird, the red one, the 7 sisters, and we're working with Iktomi Wakam, which is sacred spider. So we have 3 helpers for every symbol. And like we talked about earlier, there's always an earth guardian for every symbol. That's how we ground it in. If the tree grows upwards with its branches and not with its roots down into the earth, it falls over. So it's important that when we're working with our own ascension, that we're also working down too. We're working with the earth. We're working through our legs and our feet. We're in our bodies for this experience. A lot of times we have experiences with trauma or overwhelm. We're living in great times of acceleration right now. And so it can be tempting to be out of body to cope with this. But truly integrating and truly ascending also means being here now, in this moment, being present with the discomfort, and also reaching and being open to the higher levels of consciousness. You can still receive messages from the star nations and the earth nations at the same time. It doesn't have to be one way or the other. In fact, it's a good way to be balanced if you have both. So this cardinal reminds us that this is a radical realignment with Creator. The symbol, specifically this time of year, if you're not in alignment with your purpose, you might feel shaken. And that's just not this time of year, but at any time, if you're here on this earth and you veer off your path, you might get smacked around. Like Grandma Lily said, you might get a bump on your head or something. So it's a good idea to have your own steering before that happens, right? So we get reminders to stay on our path, and the synchronicities that she was talking about earlier are good ways to measure that. We have the synchronicities coming in to let us know we're doing all right. We're on the right path. And so Cardinal reminds us that waking up to spirit happens when we pray. And so how conscious are we with our thoughts, with our words? Everything that we say, everything that we do, every energy that we emanate creates, it sends ripples out. And so it's good to be aware of what we're creating, right? So to wake up to our own spiritual potential, we pray, which is becoming conscious of our thoughts, right? What are you doing when you're praying? You're consciously creating. You're asking for help from the divine. You're trying to connect. So we're always thinking, we're always feeling things. Praying is consciously doing so, right? So this is becoming a star. And when we work with the Pleiadian 7 sisters, we're also connecting with the same energy that White Buffalo Calf Woman came with. She came and she taught the people of Turtle Island how to be in balance with all life, right? That way of life isn't about being the coolest version of yourself and being selfish. It's about the path of giveaway, right? And finding balance of having your own health and wellness and acting in service to all, that we're stewards of this earth and we're all related. So this Pleiadian message, we work with the 7 chakras. We work with manifesting what's in our hearts, but it's important to consider our environment when we do that. And we see that today, the imbalance in humanity is coming in, where we're creating, we're having fun, or but we're not necessarily weighing the implications on what we're doing collectively and how that impacts our environment, our water, our air, our mind. If you're having nightmares, maybe stop watching scary movies. If you're having a hard time in your relationships, maybe you should stop listening to music that talks about profanity and having a toxic relationship with your partner. Like whatever you're listening to, whatever you're speaking is manifesting at this time, not only for us individually, but for us collectively. So with the 7 sisters, they remind us that we have 7 inner stars. And you'll find this in the teachings that come from India. Specifically, they had a strong mastery and record keeping of the chakra systems. And these 7 stars within us are our pillar of light. Stacked realities on top of each other that manifest this toroidal field, right? We are free energy devices, although we need sandwiches occasionally to keep ourselves, going. maybe some sunlight, some water, but we produce an energetic field, right? And so the pillar of that is our chakras. So paying attention. How's your posture? If your posture is bent, then you might be restricting your own energy flow, right? It's one of the simple teachings that's easily applied with the chakra system. Now, the third messenger of this solstice alignment, the ceremony of rebirth, is Iktomi Wakan. The sacred spider talks about the points of light in our body. So we just talked about the 7 chakras. These are the main 7 points of light. But we also have chakras on the palms of our hands, right? We have chakras on the soles of our feet. You know, we have 144,000 meridians of light in our body, right? So now you don't have to think about, well, where are all those? You're not going to memorize them. I promise. I've tried. Well, maybe you can. I don't know. But we have 144,000 meridians of light in our body. And it's good that we can focus on these 7, you know. And when something comes up in your body, you know, maybe a physical ailment, a discomfort, you feel overwhelmed, it might show in your emotional levels too, you know. These points of light, working with them, calling in that healing energy, praying can help you to balance. So one of the most empowering messages for the sacred spider and for this solstice is the message that humanity has the ability to heal the ills of the earth. I'm going to say that again. Humanity has the ability to heal the ills on Mother Earth. Yes, we can. Right? We can. There are things that have happened that we've done, and maybe even before we were ever here or ever a thought, that have compromised the balance of Mother Earth's ecosphere that we're a part of, right? And whatever happens, we have the ability to heal it. So it's a great discredit that many have felt that there's no way that we can overcome what we've already done. And so this messenger comes and says, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Mm-hmm. So that's number 1, right? She gives 3. Wakan says we have the ability to heal Earth's ills. And number 2, we have the ability to discipline our ego. Sometimes it's hard, especially if you have a big head like me sometimes. But disciplining the ego, you know, there's a balance to that, because having no identity is also a detriment. Mm-hmm. So walking in this path is not just walking around saying, well, I'm nobody, right? And then not honoring your medicine, right? So it's good to honor your medicine. It's good to honor why you're here. Stand up for yourself if someone's bullying you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hold your ground with healthy boundaries. Yeah. But it's also good to balance that and not be so stuck in the ego that we don't see what's happening past our nose and how we're affecting others. You know, balance. Disciplining the ego doesn't mean killing it. It means balancing it. And we have it for a reason. We've evolved through millennia for self-preservation. That's why we have the ego, right? So the third thing is that we also have the influence to talk to the stars, right? If you've done work with manifestation, if you've done work with studying quantum physics, you will know that everything we do sends out a vibration. And you will know also that we live in a multiverse. Mm-hmm. There are many timelines that exist here. Mm-hmm. And whatever we see, we are perceiving. And that's based on our vibration. So if you could imagine a reality where things are looking a certain way and you hold that vision right? You hold it long enough and you nurture it and you take care of it. If you emanate the vibration that matches that timeline, you'll show up there. You might wake up there one morning and the reality looks mostly the same, but maybe there's a little bit tweaked here and there, you know. Have you guys ever heard of the Mandela effect?
Sure thing.
Does anybody remember the Berenstain Bears? Well, they're saying it's Berenstain, but I don't think so. It's steam, right? Well, we all have different opinions on that because we come from different timelines, right? There's a shift that's happening, and naturally we're evolving in a gradual way because we've been given the gift of grace. It would be very shaking for us to jump timelines really far away from where we are. So we do it incrementally, so little things will change. Maybe you go, wait a second, I remember this a little different. That's okay. That means you're traveling. You're moving to different timelines. We do this all the time already. You might say, how do I do that? You're already doing it. We're already always doing it. So how do you do it? You pay attention to your vibration, becoming conscious of what we're putting out. That's what this alignment is about. Awakening to what it is we're vibrating at. What is the emanation we're giving off? Because that is what's going to dictate what timeline we're on. And so there's been a lot of talk about raising our vibration. You know, it was one of the things that came through in the beginning of my journey, you know, meeting community members and people in spirit family. A lot of these people were, oh yeah, raise your vibration, and that's good, right? But sometimes the real trick is keeping our vibration there, because if you're raising your vibration and then the next day you're down here, then your life can be a roller coaster. Right? So we want to keep some level of stasis, right? And that can happen when we develop a practice, when we have, again, the discipline of the ego. Oh, I don't feel like meditating today. I just want to watch TV. I'm going to turn on The Bachelorette, you know? Well, is that helping your practice, right? So having the discipline to have our practice, a routine that not necessarily you're getting locked into becoming rigid, right? We want to have flexibility. We want to have adaptability, but developing a practice with ourselves, whether even if it's just as simple as being conscious of your breath, right? We talked about that last night, being conscious of the breath. That's something everyone can do no matter what. You could be at work, you could be driving a car, you could be flying an airplane, you could be digging a hole, or you could be falling asleep. You know, paying attention to our breath is something that all of us know how to do. Being present with that. That can be a practice, right? So everyone's practice will look different, and that's okay. The point is that it will help us to stabilize our vibration. Does anybody have questions with that?
Well, I comment, you know, CERN in Switzerland is doing a lot with timelines.
They are. You know, shortly after Uncle Loren passed, they were talking about turning on the LHC and turning back on that Large Hadron Collider in CERN in Geneva. And I was pretty worried, like, oh, I don't know what they're doing over there, smashing these particles together and ripping open timelines. And I prayed about it. And he said, don't be concerned. Get it? Concerned. Come on, guys. Don't be concerned. No, y'all are sleeping. But he did really say that. Because again, our vibration is what manifests what timeline we're experiencing. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. Right? Doesn't matter. There's no power over us. None. Unless we consent to that. And if it's in our timeline, it means we're manifesting a way to learn from it somehow, some way from spirit. And that's tough, as someone who's come through incredibly traumatic experiences that felt like they were completely out of my control, especially as a child, to accept the truth that I came here to learn something from that I chose it. And that's a hard pill for people to swallow sometimes, that there are difficult things that happen in life, and that we came here to choose what life we had. We chose our parents. We choose our family. We choose the things that we come to learn from. We choose the challenges. Some of us were really excited to choose lots of challenges. So gung-ho. We have lots of hands being raised over here. Can I raise both hands? Okay. For some reason, I was very excited to volunteer for all the... Anyway, I'm going to stop there. We have this journey for a reason, right? And we have the ability to control our own vibration. Like one of those things, I forget who said it, being the change you want to see in the world. You can look at that through the quantum lens with our timelines. So, all right, well, that's part number 1. And we're going to do part 2, because in the calendar today marks the Ceremony of Rebirth, which is from December 21st, right, to February 2nd. This is the first half of winter, one of the 8 legs of the spider, we call it. There are 8 solar alignments in this Iktomi Wichachpe Wichochan, the star spider way or knowledge. But we also have the beginning of a 4-part season with that star altar of Creator, right? We have 4 seasons, and this is the season of winter. So for the entirety of the season of winter, we are working with the spiritual law of healing. Now, we touched on that a little bit earlier. Spiritual law of healing, wintertime. This is where we go in here. And it's a good idea in the fall that we prepare our cave like the bear does before we hibernate, before we go in here. So we learn these ways that we don't have to get smacked by the season of healing. We can start off and prepare our inner levels, in the fall season with that surrender and listening, letting go, beginning that process. We can be gentle with ourselves. But for this season of healing, we work with Hupahu Luta, right? That's red wing. The translation literally is red wing. Hupahu. Oh, thank you. The translation Hupahu Luta. Luta means red. Hupahu is wing, right? This means ladybug. That's what we call ladybug in Lakota language. And so ladybug is this guardian of the season of healing. And if you have worked with traditional teachings, you'll know that there are many nations that have a medicine wheel. You guys familiar with the medicine wheel? So there's the 4 directions, right? And there's different versions of it. There's so many different versions of the medicine wheel. But in the star altar, right, through these teachings with Uncle Loren, this Earth Star way, we have the winter in the north of the medicine wheel. So this ladybug is the guardian of the north of our year. And she helps us with that healing, right? So while we're in the north, she helps us as our earth guardian, right? And then we also have 2 more guardians. If you're into astrology, you might know the second one. His name is Chiron. Some people say Chiron. Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. So we have the season of healing and this ability to take our wounds and spin them into medicine. Your deepest wounds can be your greatest strengths. So we work with Chiron on this. And Chiron can help us to bring a balance and an understanding, not only for this thing, whatever is imbalanced within us, but also it can straighten the mirror of how we work together as a collective. I'm calling for healing in the collective. Chiron helps with this. It can help bring an awakening in the collective. So remember that, because after this we're gonna do a meditation, and we'll be calling on Chiron for that. Yeah. So the third guardian. You hear my son squeaking. He's very happy to be here. Anyways, the third guardian is Shekinah. Now, if you know anything about the teachings of the Kabbalistic way, you will know that Shekinah is actually a Hebrew word. Shekinah, if you look in the book of Enoch, Shekinah is there. And Shekinah is listed as a high order of angels. Now, this word angels is interesting because we have an association to it by and large in our culture with Christianity, right? Angel, we think of churches maybe, or Christian doctrines. It's not limited to that. This is the language of a being who is a protector, namely the beings who protect even the throne of God, right? The throne of Creator, the place where Creator sits. Although Creator is everywhere and in all things, these angels are protector beings. And the Shekinah is an order of angels that are very, very high. They oversee the protection of life, how we evolve through lifetimes, how we are structured, the laws of physics in this reality and others. And you learn in these ways. It was spoken in the last presentation as well. We have this idea of heaven, and a lot of people have had near-death experiences or have passed away and come back, and they talk about seeing the light. That's the sun. And we work with that at Sundance. You work with that in many, many, many cultures. Even the pagan traditions pay attention to the solstices and equinoxes. We pay attention to the sun because that's why we're here. We evolved and we survived this far through generations because our ancestors found a way to understand the ways of nature. They learned to identify, oh, better not eat that plant. Get all itchy if you eat that one. Ooh, this one's good for headaches. Oh, this makes me feel really grounded. It's a root vegetable. Maybe that's connected. We learned this way, right? So as we're evolving and moving through these ways, there's a way to work with it on an inner level, with our own personal practice, with our own emanation. And there's a way for calling in the medicine for awakening for others. And at this time, there are a lot of people waking up. Unfortunately, things have had to get really intense for that to happen. Like when you have your cell phone alarm set to get louder and louder and louder, so that you eventually stop dancing to your alarm in your dream and wake up. I don't know if you guys do that. You ever hear your alarm in your dream and you're like, oh yeah, oh, I'm supposed to wake up now. Oh, but I was just catching that groove. But then it gets really loud. You're like, oh, okay, I gotta get up. All right. So the alarms have been going off, and sometimes it takes that for people to wake up out of their comfort zones, out of the illusion, whatever it is, to wake up to the imbalances. Sometimes it needs to be really stark for someone to see it. And so we've been given a great grace to step even one toe on this planet. And we're being shaken. And Mother Earth is awakening in a lot of ways. I don't even know if you guys have been paying attention to the Schumann resonance. You guys follow that? The past month, there was like, I think a 9-day period where it was on full blast, off the charts for 9 straight days. And like, if we get a spike, you're going to feel it. It was nothing but spike. I don't know if you guys have been feeling that lately. That's Mother Earth. The Schumann resonance is measured by paying attention to the upper atmosphere. Right? Schumann is the guy who coined the device that measures it, but it's directly related to the amount of lightning in the upper atmosphere on the planet. This lightning is what translates the incoming photons from the sun to our atmosphere and disperses it evenly to energize Mother Earth, just as the masculine has the seed of life for the womb. So it's been very active, which means we have a great fertility right now for creation. That fertility is high. The usable energy, lightning is usable energy. The sun, that light, that fire, it's usable energy, and it's in us. When we have these times of intense usable energy, it's a good idea to use it consciously. And paying attention to things like, how many times a day do you say, F my life? Probably don't do that, Paying attention. What are you saying? And last night, don't remember the whole message that came through, but part of it was, we all share the same breath of life. This air in this room, we're all breathing it. Better learn to get along. Breathing the same air, right? We have to figure it out. We're already working together, just accepting that is a good idea. This breath of life that we have in our lungs, it sustains us. And when we speak, when we sing, we're breathing life into whatever we're seeing, whatever we're saying, whatever we're singing, we're breathing life into it. Speaking is a way of breathing, right? So whatever you do, sing about beautiful things. If you're feeling like you're having a rough time, just sinking into the gratitude. That came in a big way. Just say thank you. Thank you. Those are 2 powerful words, right? So being conscious of that at this time is what came through. So speaking of being conscious, y'all ready for meditation? That's a fancy way of saying meditation. So at this time, I want to invite you to get comfortable. If your legs are crossed, you can uncross them. You can sit, you can lay down. The goal is to have a straight spine.
I better lay down. So you're at, I just set a timer. That's what you've accomplished.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I'm going to turn it off.
All right.
Unless you need.
Just going to do this and be done.
Thank you.
All right. So get comfortable. For those who are listening, distance-wise, don't you worry. We'll use distance symbols to connect us. We know stuff like that sometimes. So if you have any tension in your body, drop your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. You can make noises. It's okay. Bring your consciousness into your body. We are in these bodies for a reason, and it's a powerful gift. Pay attention to your breath, inhaling through the nose and up the spine. Exhaling out the mouth, down the front. Continue this at your own pace. This is called the microcosmic orbit. This is a practice in Qigong. Inhaling up the spine through the nose. And exhaling out the mouth, down the front. As you are breathing this way in your own pace, you are tending to your inner fires. Bringing your attention, if you would, to the root chakra. This is the base of your torso. This is associated with the color red. In this teaching, we have the virtue of love. Out of balance, our energy can be highly influenced by survival. This is a lack of trust in our walk and the divine purpose. Allow yourselves to breathe in that love. At the root chakra, we then move up to the sacral. The sacral chakra is where we have the element of water, whereas the root is the earth. Up to the sacral chakra, we have our waters of life. We have our connection to our sexual creation, where we all come from. So moving up, we can remember that we have this way of water, the amniotic fluid. At this level, we have the virtue of light. Why is light in your sacral chakra? At your moment of conception, there is a spark of light. Inhaling up the spine and exhaling down the front. Moving up, we go to the solar plexus. This is the center of our will. We have the virtue of peace here. This is the color yellow. This is the element fire. This is our connection to the sun. Do you know why you're here? Breathe life into that. Inhaling up. Exhaling out. Moving up to the heart chakra. We have the color green. We have the virtue of unity. This is where we're all connected to each other from heart to heart. This is the navigation system, the center of our being. 3 chakras below, 3 chakras above. This is the element of air. This is where our lungs are. This is where grief can get stuck. This is where we can radiate and listen and feel and know the truth. Your discernment lives here. This is your passport to the stars and timelines. Moving up, we now enter the spiritual elements. the throat. The throat chakra is blue. As we breathe life into this part of ourselves for healing, you can see this blue color. We have the virtue of harmony here. How can we create and be true to who we are while being in balance with others outside of ourselves? This is the way of harmony. Inhaling up the spine. Nice and big. Exhale. Out the mouth. Moving up to the third eye, also called the Ajna chakra. We have the virtue of truth. This is where we have our spiritual eye and our spiritual ears. What messages are you seeing in your dreams, in your visions? How do you hear the voice of spirit? We see through these physical eyes, and our spirit, this third eye, this chakra of truth, helps us to see that sometimes things are not as they appear. And there are many layers. And inhaling up finally to the ground. We have our connection to source. This is the virtue of freedom, our freedom star, our freedom to be who we are, our freedom to grow, freedom to change your mind at any time. And remember that you are always one decision from an entirely different life. Here we have the color violet. And we can work with that violet flame to release any and all things that do not serve. So now that we have our visualization, I'm going to call in Red Wing and the spiritual law of healing symbol. If you know it, please draw it in your mind with your palm. There will be an activation of this distance symbol as well. So those who do not know it will also be activated if you consent. If you do not consent, close your palms. If you do consent, you can open your palms. This is totally up to you. Yo Mashiach he mishishi. Yo Mashiach he mishishi. Yo Mashiach he mishishi. Yo he wa. Yo hewa, yo hewa, yo hewa, yo hewa, yo hewa, yo hewa, yo hewa. Yo Mashiach he mishishi. Yo Mashiach he mishishi. Yo Mashiach he mishishi. Yo he Mashiach, Mishishi, Yo Mashiach, Mishishi, Yo Mashiach, Mishishi, Yo Shishi, Yo Mashiach, Shishi, Yo Mashiach, Shishi, Yo Inhaling up, exhaling down, sending this to all versions of yourself through all timelines, past, present, future, harmony. Remember this love, light, peace, unity, harmony, truth, and freedom. You are free, you are free, you are free, you are free. Kimimila wimuke washtewi, na komito washtewi, makiabie, mitakiabi. Wakanta kanto koshima. Toka hea, che wakielo, we pray to you first, Creator. Come to speak with you this evening. Pejuta washte wopila tanka. Unshilapi, antakashilapi. Thank you, grandmothers and grandfathers, for this beautiful medicine, for all of our helpers, for helping us at this time, bridging across this love, this resonance. We say thank you. So at your own pace, and come back to our bodies, back to the moment. Be here right now. Come back to the circle. And thank you guys for doing this journey. Happy solstice. Happy New Year.